Los Angeles is called the City of Dreams, and the creative spirit here inspires both filmmakers and bakers.
We've done a lot of cakes for stars, and we've done movie premieres as well.
We follow 3 of Tinseltown's top pastry chefs in their quest for a fabulous cake.
You're not going to get a traditional sheet cake out of me.
And here, size matters.
We have never wrapped a cake this big before.
That's a lot of cake.
It doesn't fit through the door.
But big cakes come with big problems.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
We're going to have to just scrap it.
And getting it together before the big event
Careful going down those steps.
takes everything they've got.
Let go.
Let go.
20 miles south of Los Angeles, the Torrance Bakery has been making a full line of baked goods for 26 years. Owner Kirk Rosberg has been in the sweet tooth business since he was a teenager.
I was about 15. I started working in bakeries, and I've really been working in bakeries ever since.
And his skills are in high demand.
We do about 500 decorated cakes per week. Since we're close to the motion picture industry, we've done a lot of cakes for a lot of stars, and we've done some movie premieres as well.
Today, Kirk meets with Courtney Cambra. Her family has been getting cakes here since she was a child.
How are you?
Good.
Now, she wants something special for her engagement party.
Thinking something kind of crazy and fun, and I really want to surprise my fiancé with something over the top. I'd like to incorporate the beach because that's really important.
Okay, so we'll put the beach in.
And then we just got a brand new home, more like a fixer-upper home, but in a great neighborhood.
So if we do like say a beach shack on here.
Oh yeah, Pete's a hardworking fireman, so that's a big part of his life and work.
How about Pete on a ladder here? Like maybe you in a wedding dress.
And I'm going to catch him.
Yeah,
And
catch
then
him. That's great.
After tasting a number of cakes and fillings, the choice comes down to one.
Well, that is so good.
That's a white cake with the fudge filling.
Got to be the fudge.
We'll do it.
The plan is to make a cake that looks like a beach shack on a hill overlooking the ocean. The 2-story beach shack cake will have chocolate floors and walls and a chocolate roof thatched with wheat cereal. A fondant firefighter is on a ladder, being pulled into the shack by his fondant bride. The beach cake will be a separate cake. It will feature edible palm trees, a rock jetty, a dock, a fireboat, and inside a white chocolate clamshell, a diamond engagement ring made from sugar. The cake will be 4 feet wide, 3 feet high, and weigh 350 pounds. The cost, $2,700. Work begins on the beach. It will take 21 sheets of white cake.
I'm putting on a fudge filling in between the layers of cake. Anytime you have a cake larger than 2 feet, the biggest challenge for me is always structure.
To support this cake, holes are drilled into a board and plastic dowels are inserted. Matching holes are made in the cake tiers and they're lowered onto the baseboard.
Okay, you want to help guide it through the first couple holes? Nice! Take your end. Really underneath it. And... Good job!
A layer of buttercream goes on to seal in moisture, and foam core is put on top for extra support. Then the process is repeated.
Okay.
The tier is carved into a hill, crumb-coated. Then beige buttercream creates a base for the beach. Then, to make the sand...
This is cake that I left out overnight. So it's starting to dry out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just take my hand and just start crumbling it up. They're still kind of coarse, so I'm going to run it through a sieve. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown sugar as well. And it has a really fine sand color to it.
And it's sprinkled on the beach.
You got to do it while the icing's still soft.
Next, the ocean.
I have my water line marked here. I'm going to put a light coat of buttercream frosting on here. And then I'm going to put a coat of piping gel. It's a sugar, gelatin, water mixture. And then from there, I'm going to airbrush the water, a little bit of black right at the base here, because that's where the water kind of comes in and out.
Now a layer of edible green paint, topped with glue. Rocks for the coastline jetty are made from chunks of white cake and fudge covered in buttercream and fondant.
I'm going to have these kind of pile up, just like nature, right?
More edible paint adds realistic color.
Airbrushing just some shadows where they would naturally fall. What do you think? Good?
Then it's on to the steps.
These are handmade molds made from a silicone putty for a chocolate into these molds.
When cool, they pop out easily.
Got a wood grain texture on it, so they kind of look a little bit like railroad ties. They're going to be embedded into the ground as they go up to the house.
The dock is next. More melted chocolate is spread onto acetate and given a wood-like texture. Then, melted white chocolate is poured over it. It's chilled, flipped, and the acetate is pulled off.
We're going to cut them into little slats so that we can lay them on the pier.
They're glued on with a dab of melted chocolate. Then more chocolate-covered support posts go in the water, and the dock is set on top. Now that the beach cake is done, it's time to build the shack.
We have to make this 27 inches. Funny thing is, sheet cakes come in sizes of 24 inches, so I'm going to have to get another whole sheet of cake just to cover up this 3-inch lip, and I can't add it to the end because the cake will crack.
After all 6 layers are checkerboarded for strength and crumb-coated, they check the weight.
No way. 55. That's a lot of cake. I was thinking it was going to be about 30-ish pounds, so I hope that we have a strong enough base to make this work. I do not have a backup plan.
In San Marcos, California, 100 miles south of Los Angeles, Jen Drury runs No More Boring Cakes. The name of the bakery says it all.
You're not going to get a plain cake. You're not going to get a traditional sheet cake out of me. I really enjoy doing cakes that look like an object, so it fools the eye. Congratulations on your...
Today, Jen is meeting with Jennifer Brown to discuss a non-traditional cake for her wedding.
We chatted a little bit on the phone about your wedding, and the reception is going to be a very Hawaiian, luau, tiki-themed reception, right?
Right. These are some of the decorations we have, the napkins and seashells and tikis. I love tiki. I grew up in a Polynesian community, so it's a big part of my growing up.
I went ahead and drew up a sketch. It was like exactly up our alley.
It is. Wow, that is great. I love it.
Now it's time to taste flavors.
Definitely raspberry and pina colada.
You got it.
The plan is to create a 4-foot-tall, 7-tier wedding cake with a Polynesian luau theme. The base tier will resemble curling ocean waves, surrounded by edible sand and seashells. 3 more cake tiers will feature lush tropical flowers made of gum paste. Between them, a tier covered with hand-painted edible tikis and palm trees, and a tier with pineapples made from rice treats and modeling chocolate. Topping off the 7 tiers, sugar figures of the bride and groom inside a vanilla cake hut thatched with edible palm fronds. The cost? $4,500. Work begins on the ocean waves tier. It will take 6 sheets of vanilla cake to piece it together. They've been frozen to make trimming easier.
Put a strip of frosting in between.
The sections are cut, stacked in an interlocking pattern for strength, and filled with pina colada buttercream.
This is going to take the weight from the whole rest of the cake. So we just need to make sure that we have it stable so the rest of the cake will go as planned.
Once it's 3 layers high,
Okay.
time to carve. The idea is to undercut all 4 sides. Then, when it's frosted, it will create the effect of looking into the curl of a wave. A cardboard round, representing the next tier, is placed on top of the cake as a guide.
She knows not to go too close to the circle.
So I can go way more into
I
this.
think we could go way more.
Okay. I'm taking a lot of cake away.
It's a risky move. The trick is carving just enough to achieve the right look, without making the cake so top-heavy the overhang falls off.
I think it looks good.
Once the carving is finished, the cake gets a crumb coat.
It's a little hairy underneath because the cake wants to start coming off. It's starting to get soft. And this is the part that I'm scared of. Yeah, because if it's going to break, this is about the time it's going to break.
To prevent that, the cake is taken to the cooler to give the tier time to firm up. But when it's checked...
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
Coming up,
Oh, fantastic.
big cake,
Awesome.
big headache.
It doesn't fit through the door.
The team at the Torrance Bakery making a huge cake for an engagement party has turned the base into a beach. Now they have to make the house that will sit on top.
We're just going to make it look like a beat-up old beach shack.
Fondant, an edible sugar dough, is applied in sections. Black, yellow, then the entire cake is covered in brown fondant.
With a square cutter, we're going to cut out windows. Underneath, you're going to see the yellow.
The same technique has also made the black door. To create siding for the shack, a texture mat adds wood grain to more brown fondant.
We're just going to put them on. It really is not going to have too much of a rhyme or reason.
Airbrushing with edible brown paint gives it a weathered look.
It's a fixer-upper. It definitely is a fixer-upper.
The shack's second story is supposed to be under construction, so modeling chocolate is cut like stud-framed walls.
I'm going to give it a little bit of wood grain. So we're going to put in a white undercoat with a chocolate overcoat. I'm going to use a wood graining tool with a comb, and we're going to drag through to make the texture and expose some of the white. This is a hardware tool that they actually use for making faux wood grain.
A porch railing is made the same way. Then a roof.
Melt some chocolate and apply cereal to make it really look like a thatched roof.
For the deck, more modeling chocolate covers the support dowels. Then a piece of masonite is put on top.
We're covering up the masonite board with modeling chocolate.
The components of the beach shack are complete, but they won't be put together yet.
There are so many fragile pieces to this that most of this stuff is going to be assembled on the site itself.
In the Los Angeles suburb of Granada Hills, Jolene Medina and her husband Miguel run a custom cake shop called A Sweet Design. For Jolene, making outstanding-looking cakes is a lifelong passion.
I became interested in pastries and cake design at a very young age. So I went to culinary school and then just fell in love with cakes.
Today, Jolene meets with Eileen Galarza and her nephew, Jesse Gallardo.
Hi, Jesse, nice to meet you.
They want a birthday cake for Jesse's sister, Tiffany, who's turning 26.
So tell me a little bit about Tiffany. What's her personality like?
When we were little, we used to watch a lot of like mystical movies, fantasy.
Maybe an animal? How about a dinosaur? No, a dragon.
A dragon?
How about a dragon?
Maybe making her look like a girl dragon.
A girly dragon. I love it. If we're going all out for Tiffany, we might as well make it big.
I like that.
You like that?
I really do.
Would you guys like to sample some cakes?
We'd love to.
Okay, let me grab some.
After tasting a number of flavors and fillings, the decision only gets tougher.
Oh, wow. Try that one.
Sorry, I'm in love with this chocolate one.
If you're interested, you can have a variety of flavors within the cake, so you don't just have one cake.
Sounds awesome.
I love it.
Great.
The plan is to create a dragon princess cake sitting in a grassy fondant meadow dotted with edible flowers. The cake will be 3 feet tall. So big, it will take 28 layers of vanilla cake and have room for 10 different and unusual varieties of buttercream icing. The dragon's snout, neck, tail, and feet will be shaped with cereal treats. The wings will be handcrafted from gum paste. To top it off, the dragon will be holding a smaller cake in celebration of the birthday. The total cost, $4,500. Work begins by roughly stacking layers of vanilla cake.
The body is made up of about 7 separate cakes that we will stack on top of each other, starting from a larger cake to a smaller sized cake.
You couldn't do this once you have fillings in there. It's way too heavy. So we're doing great. We're good.
The fillings will offer a little something for everyone. The dragon's base layers will be filled with mint buttercream and fudge buttercream.
It's really strong chocolatey taste.
The belly will be cherry and amaretto buttercream. The chest will be more fudge paired with cookies and cream.
I'm trying to stir as least as possible in order to maintain a bright color.
Above that, apple pie buttercream with streusel. The head will be filled with raspberry and pistachio.
On the applying pressure, that gets rid of any air bubbles in between the layers.
Once the sections are built, they are each cored with a cookie cutter and pastry knife.
So we need to remove this amount from the center of every cake.
They are then stacked on a wood post attached to a plywood baseboard covered with contact paper.
Perfect.
Because the cake will weigh about 100 pounds, as tiers are added, plastic dowels are inserted for more support.
We're right at 20 inches. Awesome.
After the lower portion is built, it's time to focus on the upper portion.
We have to create a cake holding another cake. And it's a challenge because we've never done it before.
The small birthday cake will be 3 7-inch rounds filled with cookies and cream and fudge buttercream. To be sure the dragon's arms are strong enough to hold it, they're made from copper tubing, covered with food-safe cake tape.
So we just put this in here.
Did you do that with your own arms?
Yeah.
Now, a quick test.
That's fine, right?
Next, a support board for the head.
We're not going to have the head like this. We're going to have it at an angle. So we need support so that it doesn't slide.
We're going to put a lot of weight on this head, so we want to make sure it's not going anywhere.
The cake needs to be carved into the shape of a dragon's body, but it has to be chilled first. And when they take it to the cooler, they run into a big problem.
It doesn't fit through the door, honey.
No. So it's the other side. It's the other side.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
So this is the...
I don't think this is...
Oh, that's the bigger side.
Oh, what?
Okay.
Can you saw this down?
Coming up,
Giving the face a unibrow.
turning sugar into a Polynesian idol.
It'll look like a real tiki.
In Southern California, at No More Boring Cakes, Jen Drury and her team are making a Polynesian luau wedding cake. But there's a problem with the base tier.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
It's completely split.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's hanging. Yeah. Can we take this out? Look at that right here.
It's only a matter of time before it falls apart.
I'm going to have to carve off all that overhang. That was going to be the wave and recreate the whole thing.
The damaged section is removed and replaced with more vanilla cake. But the patch doesn't work.
This is not going to be structurally sound. We cannot save this. It's not salvageable. We're going to have to just scrap it.
Okay.
Hours of hard work have been lost. They'll have to start over.
We had to ditch that bottom tier. So what we're going to do is we are going to create the wave in a 16-inch.
This time, they're not taking any chances. The wave effect will be created with decorations only. First, the new tier is crumb-coated.
We're going to make that bride happy, no matter what.
Then it's covered in fondant.
You're really not going to see the fondant. The fondant's for a little bit more structural support.
To make the waves, blue-tinted buttercream is applied.
I'm using offset spatula like I would use a palette knife, pressing and manipulating the icing where I want it to go. And I'll go back over it with a little bit of white so it looks like the waves are breaking.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Now the tiki tier. Layers of frozen marble and vanilla cake are stacked and filled with raspberry buttercream. The tier is sculpted into an hourglass shape. Leveled. Then plastic dowels are added for support.
It's solid. So right now I'm using a fondant smoother to push this down, and we want to make sure that it's flush, ready to go.
A dollop of raspberry buttercream glues a cake board over the dowels. The tier gets a crumb coat. Then it takes 4 people to drape it in white fondant.
Smoother.
Okay. We have plenty over here, you guys.
Oh, that looks really good. Really good. Looks nice and smooth. It looks really nice.
With the tier finished, it's time to create the tiki idols that will decorate it. They're molded from rice cereal treats and covered with a mixture of gum paste and modeling chocolate.
The modeling chocolate allows the gum paste to be more pliable and it doesn't dry as fast.
First, a mouth and eye sockets are roughed out by hand.
Now I'm using a ball tool to create nostrils on the tiki.
Then eyes.
This is a palette knife. This allows me to carve in details, giving the tiki face a unibrow. Tikis, a lot of them have a unibrow.
A few more details.
Use my palette knife to create heat.
Finally, a dusting of black and brown edible petal dust.
It'll give him depth and texture, and it'll look like a real wood tiki.
The crew at the Torrance Bakery has finished several of the main elements of a 350-pound beach-themed cake. Now a beach scene must: palm trees.
We're going to use a little PVC pipe, and then we're going to use modeling chocolate on that. Modeling chocolate is really chocolate and corn syrup mixed together. The corn syrup makes it a little bit more pliable.
A sculpting tool scores the trunk, then more chocolate adds bark.
We have to start from the top. It's almost like making a rose.
For the leaves, more modeling chocolate tinted green is rolled, cut, given a ragged edge, and attached to wires stuck in the top.
I have some white chocolate here that I just melted up, so I'm going to put a little bit of green in there. This is going to give it some color, and it's also going to give it some texture, because as this chocolate hardens, it'll look more like a leaf.
Next, sculptures of the engaged couple. Wire skeletons will make it easier to position their bodies and support the firefighters' weight.
These little extra pieces of wire will hold on to the ladder.
Modeling chocolate is used to shape the bodies, and fondant makes skin and clothes.
The hard part is actually getting the ridges of the dress. So I'm doing a sticking pencil-like tool, stretching it out a little bit, and then folding it over. And that's how I get the folds into it.
The firefighter gets a full uniform.
So now I'm going to make the actual helmet part. This is like a circle cutter. I'm just going to cut probably about 1/4 of an inch thick. Going to roll it, flip up the ends, dab it with a little bit of water. Details are everything.
More fondant makes heads and hair, and edible paint defines faces. To make the firefighter's chocolate ladder, soda straws are slit lengthwise.
The reason I do that is so when I add the chocolate in, there's room for the air to escape. I add the chocolate real slowly. If you do it too fast, it'll just overflow.
When the chocolate cools, the pieces are pushed out, cut to form rails and rungs, and glued together with more melted chocolate.
It is a little difficult. It takes a lot of patience.
Coming up, tropical flowers.
Just like so.
You can eat.
I'm excited.
At No More Boring Cakes, the wave and tiki tiers have been completed for a Polynesian luau wedding cake. Next up, 3 cake tiers featuring lush tropical flowers. They start with the top one.
And turn it over.
8-inch rounds of vanilla cake are stacked and iced with raspberry buttercream.
And then it's going to be covered with fondant.
2 more tiers are created the same way. Pina colada buttercream for the 14-inch round, and more raspberry for the 10-inch round. Next, some edible color.
I'm mixing vodka, lemon extract, and food coloring.
All 3 tiers are painted in shades of yellow, orange, and red.
It'll look like a watercolor sunset.
As the paint dries, work begins on the dozens of tropical flowers that will cover the tiers. For the orchids, each petal is individually stamped from gum paste with a cutter.
I press down, wiggle just a little bit so that I get a nice cut.
Then they are rolled thin.
I'm using a plastic dowel because a regular rolling pin is going to smash this too much.
Next, the petal is placed in a Vayner mold. A brush of edible gum glue, a mixture of Tylose powder and water, attaches a piece of floral wire.
The goal is to make sure that I have my wire at least 3/4 of the way into the petal. because I do not want to have my petals falling off. Press them together just like so, and voila.
Another cutter shapes the throat of the flower from more gum paste.
And then we'll pop it out just like so.
After it's rolled out, it's shaped further with a ball tool.
In the cake world, we call this furling.
And another sculpting tool gives definition.
To add a little bit of texture.
The throat piece is wrapped around a gum paste center and secured with more gum glue.
When it dries very hard, so it's not going to fall apart at all.
After the pieces have set, a dusting of edible powders in yellow, rose, and violet provide a splash of realistic color. Finally, the orchid is assembled petal by petal.
I'm using floral tape, and floral tape sticks to itself just like so.
Gum paste is also used to create highly detailed hibiscus flowers. The oversized pistil is painstakingly recreated with dozens of sugar stamens available at cake decorating stores. More yellow petal dust gives the flower its bright tropical hue.
I'm excited. It turned out so good.
Anthuriums and plumerias are also created from gum paste and set aside to dry. The flowers will be inserted later when the wedding cake is assembled. Next up, the pineapple tier.
For this layer, I'm just going to be using the blue luster dust and a paintbrush and create a beautiful light blue shimmery background.
The decorative pineapples are made from rice cereal treats covered with modeling chocolate.
I added yellow and green and marbleized it to get a natural look on pineapples because they're multicolored.
The chocolate is cross-hatched to simulate the rough outer skin of a pineapple. Next, skewers and a dollop of royal icing glue the pineapples to the tier. And finally, green gum paste leaves form the crown.
I never get tired of the cake. Ever.
The bakers at A Sweet Design have hit a glitch in making a dragon princess cake for a 26-year-old's birthday party. The baseboard is too big to get the cake into the cooler.
We're going to have to trim down one of the sides of the boards. It'll just be a quick saw cut, and we'll get it in there.
Once the problem is solved and the cake is chilled, it's ready to be carved. To keep them on track, the sketch of the cake has been enlarged to actual scale.
Having a life-size sketch is really important. It keeps us in perspective. We can constantly refer to it.
Now it's time to shape the head.
I do not like crust anywhere but on my sandwiches.
A template the same shape as the head support structure guides the carving.
So I'm just going to trim to the board.
We're going to place this right behind the cake so we can visualize it better.
I need to add another 2 inches.
Cake scraps top it off and round it out.
Looks better.
Then the dragon's snout is shaped from cereal treats.
The tighter you can press the cereal treats, the better. There won't be any air in there, and when you're covering the fun, it'll just make for a real smooth texture. Can I just take this off since we don't need it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
The lower jaw is glued on with royal icing, made from egg whites, powdered sugar, and water.
Let's do this. We're going to use some plastic to hold them in place for a little while.
More cereal treats form the neck.
I think we're good.
Then it's time to carve the body.
So this is pretty big. We're just going to take baby steps. Just baby steps.
To make the haunches, a cake tier filled with coconut and pink guava buttercream is cut in half, trimmed down, and attached with a layer of vanilla buttercream.
We're going to do some skewers to get some extra support in there. This looks really good for the legs.
Next, the dragon's belly.
I really want this belly full, so I think we need some cake here.
Okay.
More cake scraps glued with more buttercream fill it out, and the dragon is ready for a crumb coat.
We just do a simple vanilla buttercream.
While the cake is chilling, the 7-inch birthday cake also gets a crumb coat. Then it's covered with white fondant.
You need to work fast with the fondant because if you let it sit out for too long, it starts cracking. I'm patting the rest of the fondant away. And this is ready to be decorated.
Diamond shapes cut from teal gum paste are glued on with water. More gum paste becomes a border. Silver sugar beads, called dragées, are attached with royal icing, and it's done.
I like it. Actually, I love it.
Coming up, hundreds of pounds of cake
We're going to have to go up and over the slant shoulder height.
on the move. The Torrance Bakery team has completed most of the main features of the Beach Shack cake, but they are far from finished.
I got about 20-some items that still need to be done, so we have a lot of work to do.
First up, the oversized engagement ring. A piece of PVC pipe, fitted with wires to secure it to the cake, is wrapped with modeling chocolate and white fondant. More fondant rolled in balls creates a setting. After it's dry, edible paint turns it platinum. Then the jewel itself.
This is a glass diamond. You can get it at any craft store. That's where we got it from. I made a mold from silicone. From there, I melted sugar and then poured into the mold. You want a nice steady flow because that will get rid of the bubbles.
To make the clamshell that will hold the ring, white and dark chocolate are poured into a funnel, then into a mold.
The chocolate mixed with the white is going to cause the marbling effect that you often see in the seashells.
Now the sugar diamond is ready.
Yay!
Finally, fondant is rolled into pearls and edible luster dust adds shine.
We swish it around, it comes out pretty glowy.
Then, more fondant is shaped into lifesavers and surfboards and colored with edible paint. Now, 350 pounds of cake, sugar, and chocolate are ready for transport.
1, 2, good. You good? You okay?
Yeah, got your fingers. Put your fingers out.
The team at A Sweet Design is making a 3-foot dragon princess cake. The body and head have been built. Next, the dragon's wings are shaped from wire.
You can get this wire on any hardware store, and it's really, really strong.
After it's bent into the right shape, it's used as a template to cut out gum paste.
Let's put a little bit of water to glue these two pieces together. This is so that they're not completely flat. And I'm going to put it together. Okay, this is ready.
When the wings are dry, the rice treats on the neck are temporarily removed, the wings are bolted in, and the rice treats are replaced.
This looks really good.
Now the dragon's feet. Rice treats are stacked to the right height, carved into claws,
Just trying to make a nice shape,
and glued in place with a dab of royal icing. More cereal treats make a long tail, and a crumb coat of royal icing fills in the cracks. Then white modeling chocolate finishes the snout.
And then it can look smooth.
The cake is ready to be covered in fondant. It will take 60 pounds of it and 3 people to get it done.
We have never wrapped a cake this big with fondant before.
It's so large, they cover it in strips.
And it's going to work. It has to work. So we're going to take our ball tool to just really get in. Make sure it's touching the seam, okay? You want to trim some more?
A triangular cookie cutter gives it the look of dragon skin.
It's a really neat technique to just imprint the scales. They look so realistic. It's really nice.
Then long strips of fondant are glued to the midsection with water.
We're putting on her belly stripes. It's cutesy, adds a little bit of decor to the belly.
More fondant is then shaped into arms and hands and pressed into place.
Done.
And the final touch, a spiky gum paste spine.
Now it starts really looking like a dragon.
At No More Boring Cakes, work continues on the Polynesian luau wedding cake. The main cake tiers have been built. Now it's time to prepare the decorative elements for the baseboard. This time, sand is made from crushed graham crackers mixed with raw cane and brown sugar.
I love the texture. I love the color.
Melted white chocolate is poured into molds to form starfish and seashells. Once they've hardened, luster dust gives them a sheen.
And they're all done.
Next, the gum paste plumeria get a dusting of color.
Going down the veins just a little bit.
And are strung into lays. It's on to the topper. First, the figures of the bride and groom are sculpted from gum paste. Edible paint and colored markers creates facial features.
When we stick it on there, that looks pretty good.
And brown gum paste makes hair. The process is repeated for the groom. And piped royal icing creates buttons for his shirt.
The bride and the groom are done.
Next, the palm tree hut. A vanilla hemisphere cake iced with raspberry buttercream forms the roof. Then coconut fronds cut from green gum paste are given scissored edges, colored with edible luster dust, and attached one at a time. To support the roof, 4 plastic cake columns are covered in brown fondant to create the look of wood, and the topper is done. All the separate elements for the cake are now complete. Time to unite them. First, more dowels are added to the base tier.
We need many dowels in this layer.
A cake plate goes next, and the process is repeated on the next tiers. More skewers and royal icing glues the tikis on top of blocks of modeling chocolate, and tropical scenes are hand-painted onto the sides. Now it's time to go.
We have a very large cake to get into the van and deliver it 20 miles down the road.
You got it? I got it.
The Torrance Bakery team is on its way to the engagement party with a 4-foot square beach cake loaded in 3 vehicles.
Please still be in one piece. Please still be in one piece. Yes. All right, 1, 2, 3 steps up.
But as they turn a corner, they hit an unexpected obstacle.
We're going to have to go up and over these plants. All we have to do is just go about shoulder height.
All right.
Come on, are we men or what?
You ready? Hold on, watch behind you.
They muscle past the greenery and set up the cake. The beach shack is lifted to the top of the hill.
Try not to slide it too much once you're on. A little more, a little more.
And nearly 24 elements are added.
Clear? Hallelujah!
The bride is placed into the shack, holding wire wrapped in fondant to look like rope. Then the firefighter goes on the ladder.
We have to move fairly quickly. We have about 7 minutes before we're going to be showing this. Okay. It's okay. Relax. Can we fix that ladder?
I have the backup.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Once the ladder is replaced, the fireman is attached and the cake is ready.
I wish the diamond was that big.
Come on, baby. Coming up.
That's where it's unlevel.
A leaning tower of cake.
Let go.
Jolene Medina and her team at a Sweet Design cake shop have built a 3-foot-tall dragon princess cake for a 26-year-old's birthday party. Now it's getting a spray of edible color in royal purple.
I've done about 4 coats, and this is the last one. It's a metallic pearl spray. Whatever the coat below it is, it enhances it.
While the paint dries, fondant is rolled out on a sheeter.
We're going to make the board green to look like a meadow for the dragon, and with some bright flowers on it.
The flowers are cut from colored gum paste, then a ball tool shapes the tips.
This helps me thin out the petals for the flower and make it look more 3-dimensional.
To set the petals' curves, the flowers are dried in an egg carton, then layered.
I'm using royal icing to adhere the flowers to each other, and then I'm going to finish the center like that. So our flowers will just be a little more textured.
After the flowers go on with another dab of royal icing, more royal icing adds a little landscaping.
A little bit of grassy texture, really.
Next, the dragon's facial features. White and black fondant circles for eyes, edible black paint for eyelashes, teal fondant for eyeshadow, red for a heart-shaped mouth, and white for teeth. And toenails are polished with edible glitter.
The nails are made of gum paste, kind of like person nails.
The final touch, a gum paste bow, made using a homemade mold.
These are paper towels that we rolled up and taped. And it's a nice surface because the gum paste doesn't stick to it. So I'm going to roll this in. And then I'm going to use a little bit of water to stick the other side too. Gum paste sticks great with some water. Then you just take a small strip and put it right in the center there. And then we have a bow.
After it hardens, the bow is brushed with edible silver paint mixed with alcohol. That helps the paint dry faster. It will be put on at the birthday party.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Now it's out the door.
Hey, careful going down those steps, okay? Allie, come here!
Got it?
The No More Boring Cakes team has arrived safely with the Polynesian luau wedding cake. But they're running a little late.
I gotta stack the cake.
And moving fast.
We're good. Flowers,
All right,
you guys.
flowers.
We have a lot to do.
And finally, the last of the details are added. But now one side of the base tier is settling under the weight of the cake.
And that's where it's unlevel.
Despite their efforts, the structure is starting to lean, but there's no time to reinforce and restack the cake. All they can do is hold their breath and put on the topper.
Let's do it.
The bride and groom are positioned. Then the hut.
Will it stay? Let go. Let go.
Let go.
Let go. Okay, bring him out. Hurry.
That is so awesome. It was amazing how big the cake was.
The tiki guys really stood out for me. I was pretty impressed with the detail that went into them.
It was wonderful. I can't even think of another word to say.
The cake was great. It was beautiful, and it tasted even more beautiful.
A Hawaiian delight. That's what I thought of it.
Jolene Medina and the team at a Sweet Design Cake Shop are delivering a 3-foot dragon princess cake to a 26-year-old's birthday party.
You all right?
You need to, yeah. Barely. And now we'll rotate it.
The silver bow goes on.
How's that?
Cute. That's really cute.
And the dragon cake is ready for the birthday girl.
1, 2, 3.
Look at her nails! Oh my god, I love it. Purple is my favorite color. Oh, look at her eyelashes. How cute is she? Oh my god, it's so moist. That cake is so gorgeous. It's girly, but it's strong. She did a wonderful job. It's beautiful.